I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Oh, right, and then re-elected him. Maybe you missed it because it wasn't on TikTok. And sexism? Hillary got 3 million more votes than Trump, which in a normal country would be called a victory. It wasn't... It wasn't 21st century sexism that prevented a woman from being president. It was the Electoral College.
The Democrats are already waving the white flag ahead of the midterm elections. Too spineless to own their failures, they're preemptively handing Trump the blame for a loss they haven't even suffered yet. But Maher isn't buying it, and he's calling the DNC out for their cowardly, excuse-riddled playbook. He believes a comeback is absolutely within reach, but only after they torch their deadweight leadership to the ground. Maher's critique was razor-sharp and ruthless, so smash that subscribe button and let's tear into it.
Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. They live here, and they actually see women and people of color, and it doesn't look like some patriarchal racist nightmare. Do problems remain pertaining to racism and sexism? Of course. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey.
And this is the Democrats' most fatal flaw: breathtaking arrogance dressed up as compassion. They don't listen to their own voters, they don't consult them, they simply assume they know better, diagnose the problem from their ivory towers, and charge ahead with radical solutions nobody asked for. Maher highlights this perfectly with one of the most explosive issues in American politics: immigration. Black and Hispanic communities, two groups the Democrats have long taken for granted, have been crystal clear about their opposition to open borders. They've voiced their concerns loudly, consistently, and passionately. And the Democrats, they covered their ears and looked the other way. The results were catastrophic. When Kamala Harris was handed the border crisis to manage, she didn't just drop the ball, she abandoned it entirely. Over 12 million illegal border crossings were recorded on her watch. 12 million. That isn't compassion. That isn't policy. That is a dereliction of duty on a historic scale.
Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me. 107 Days is a victim's title because, get it, she only had 107 days to win. Yeah, and $1.5 billion and a built-in army of about 75 million people who'd vote for any human-adjacent life form that wasn't Trump.
One of the Democrats' most recycled and tired excuses is that Kamala Harris simply didn't have enough time to campaign, and Kamala herself has been more than happy to echo that convenient narrative. But let's demolish that excuse with cold, hard facts. Kamala Harris entered that race wielding the largest campaign war chest in electoral history, a staggering financial arsenal that dwarfed every other candidate on the battlefield. And the money was just the beginning. She had Hollywood locked down, A-list celebrities, cultural icons, and the most influential entertainers on the planet were lining up to champion her cause. The star power alone was utterly unprecedented. Yet despite every conceivable advantage, the money, the fame, the institutional support, she still lost decisively. Now, heading into the midterms, certain Democrats are dusting off those same threadbare excuses and trotting them back out. But Maher isn't having it. The excuses were hollow then. They're hollow now, and voters aren't fooled anymore.
In 107 days, nothing is ever Kamala's fault. Biden lets her down by not stepping down sooner. Pouty face emoji. Gavin Newsom, he was asked for his endorsement, but texted, "Hiking, we'll call back." But then never did. And then he didn't even ask her to prom. America itself lets Kamala down by not being ready for the running mate she really wanted, Pete Buttigieg. So she's stuck with the Home Depot paint salesman. And the rest is herstory. Poor Kamala. We made her the star of a rom-com and didn't even give her a gay best friend.
And the excuses just keep coming. Now the Democrats are floating the narrative that America simply isn't ready for a gay vice president. Another conveniently crafted deflection cooked up entirely inside the DNC's bubble. But here's the brutal truth. Every day, Americans weren't sitting around their kitchen tables agonizing over anybody's gender or sexuality. They were drowning. They were suffocating under an economy that was actively crushing them from every direction. Gas prices were bleeding families dry at every fill-up. The housing market had become a cruel, unattainable fantasy for millions of hardworking Americans. The border was an absolute freefall. The education system was unrecognizable, shaped by ideological agendas that left children academically behind and parents furious. And on the global stage, America's reputation and commanding presence had been reduced to an embarrassing shadow of its former self. That was the real election battlefield, and the Democrats failed spectacularly on every single front.
Yeah, I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person.
Maher pulls no punches as he drags the Democrats back to the scene of the crime, the catastrophic 2024 election loss. The verdict: many voters believe progressive politics had gone too far. They saw problems in education, immigration policy, and cultural debates, and they punished Democrats at the ballot box. Ordinary, hardworking Americans watched in disbelief as their institutions crumbled under radical ideological experiments, and they responded the only way they could. They voted the Democrats out. It was a political rescue mission, and the message couldn't have been louder or clearer. But here's the gut punch: the Democrats still don't get it. Not even close. Rather than soul-searching or course-correcting, they're doubling down, clinging desperately to the very woke ideology that drove millions of voters straight into Trump's corner. No accountability, no reflection, no lessons learned, just the same tired, radical agenda dressed up in fresh talking points. Maher is absolutely disgusted, and honestly, so are we.